One shiny moment. That's actually the only part of the song that I know. So, what's up, guys? It's your boy Moose at CFB_Moose here on Twitter from OccupyFantasy.com at OccupyFantasy. Joined side the other two co-founders, CEO Brian and Chief Bracketologist Waleed. What's up, guys? How y'all doing today?
What's up, Moose?
No complaints here, just staying indoors,
Yeah, and
avoiding people.
so so today was supposed to be a very special day for a lot of people, but due to unforeseen circumstances, it seems like March Madness, along with the entire world, is hashtag canceled. So, Waleed, why don't you go ahead and tell us what we're doing today?
For sure, man. So, obviously, with the coronavirus spreading, sports and like everything else are on ice. So, March Madness is something we all look forward to every year. I don't care if you're a college hoops fan, if you're just a sports fan, or if you just want to be involved in something in the office and represent your alma mater. So, the fun part for a lot of people is filling out a bracket, kind of following results, competing with their friends and other people for prizes. But the bracket in itself, Selection Sunday, hearing Greg Gumbel announce the 60-18 field,
Yeah.
seeing people react, and then really just the whole thing that comes with it is something that we felt we could try and recapture. Right now, it's not the real thing, but with that said, we did have enough of the season and conference tournaments play out that we could actually field a bracket. And then we could simulate the results and let
Mhm.
you guys compete and try and figure out what the computers will pick out. And ultimately, we're going to throw in some awesome prizes for the top finishers, things that I think encourage social distancing, right, Brian?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, as we all know, we're encouraging everyone to stay inside, to hashtag flatten the curve, and to help people through this time. A lot of our prizes for this contest will be to help you cope indoors, whether it's Uber Eats passes or Netflix subscriptions or uh, Amazon Prime, like a bunch of a bunch of things that HelloFresh, like anything to help you stay indoors and do things is what the goal of the prizes for the contest will be.
Yeah, and spread word. So, I mean, technically, this is the selection show. The tournament will start Thursday at noon. So, you have until that time to fill out your bracket. But the more people we get in here, the more we can add to these prizes and just make it a win win. So, get your cousins, your parents, your colleagues that are missing out on their bracket pool to come on in and join. And we'll have more information on all that, but we got to reveal the bracket, right? And see how it looks, go from there. Now, just to kind of clarify, like these results, we've already ironed out a schedule for these games. So we will be simulating these results as if they were actually March Madness games, Thursday at noon, right?
Mhm.
2 p.m., 4 p.m., and we'll be tweeting out these results. So you got plenty of time to fill out your bracket and really sweat this thing out, right? Hopefully, you get the final four right, or you're able to make some good predictions that agree with the computer.
Yeah, and we'll tweet out the link whenever we get it done to where you can submit your brackets for this simulated bracket pool. So just keep an eye out for that after this show.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
So, I mean, what
go
do you
ahead.
think, Moose?
I was gonna
Without
say,
further
yeah,
ado, or
yeah. And I was gonna say, even if and then since we're all gonna be home doing nothing, I might be able to put some spreads up, maybe some spreads in total, see how that goes.
yeah,
I
man.
this is illegal, but I'll book everything. I got to make up for my Mexican League soccer losses, so I'll book whatever.
There you go. And yeah, we can even throw out some fun challenges as far as maybe if you predict the whole Final Four right, or we'll think of them as we go along. But
Yeah.
this is something we kind of came up with on the fly, and I was in the lab, really going through my own March Madness projections, tweaking them, and playing a little God here. So we'll see. And please throw criticisms my way. Actually, throw them Brian's way. He put me in charge, right?
No, lead is the selection committee. So all the hate tweets that go out after the show, it normally can be directed at lead. So any big conference bias, blue blood bias, any unfair matchups, all leads way.
For sure. And I mean, yeah, I've given these regions geographies, times, all that. So you get petty with it. If you think that it's maddening that I put this team in the Midwest region when they were better than. Bring it on. I think I did a perfect job.
And here's the thing, though. It's like you were even texting me this like 8 o'clock this morning. You're like, no, dude, I'm still making my final changes to the bracket.
More, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I got one more team in right here.
The selection committee working down to the wire.
Couldn't sleep at night thinking I put this team as an 8 seed in this hypothetical bracket. But yeah, man, let's have some fun, man. At the end of the day, we piece this thing together, but it's all about the people. If you have any fun ideas or any things that you want to do to promote this, bring it on. And let's see what happens. Let's crown our first ever Mockupy Mockupy March Madness champion. And you think we should continue this if this goes down? Right? Or is it a one and done thing, hopefully?
Sports will never be a thing ever again, so we'll have to do this every year.
Okay, perfect. All right. Let's do it, Moose.
And all right. So I said need chat to get lit. Who's going to be the number 1 seed in the Midwest? Let's take a look at this.
The number 1 overall seed of the bracket.
Okay, so it looks like we have Kansas, and then in the play-in game, NC Central versus Robert Morris.
Yep, the Kansas Jayhawks, no surprise, 27-3. The most quad 1 wins in the NCAA, and I think pretty much the consensus they'll play the winner of the play-in game between NC Central and Robert Morris, which will take place in Dayton, Ohio.
In front of 0 fans.
Moving on.
Let's see who we got next. Let's see. We have a tough 8-9 matchup between Colorado and Rutgers.
Oof. Rutgers, their fans have been clamoring and begging to get in this Mockupy draft, and maybe a little higher than some people expected. They'll take on the number 8 seed Colorado Buffaloes, who started the season really hot and have been on a free fall as of late. At one point, I think they were a 4 or 5 seed a month ago, and here they are now.
Yeah, Rutgers 20-11 this season out of the Big Ten. Surprising season for most, but 28th overall, according to KenPom's rankings, helps them get a 9 seed in this Midwest region.
And, we were trying to piece together some video clips of, teams and fans celebrating. I think Rutgers is a team that obviously there's no footage of because they haven't been with the team. But, this whole Mockupy thing, it's for your boys out there, man. Congratulations. You didn't make the actual tournament, but this should count for something.
Definitely. So looks like we actually have Lucas in the chat who's making spreads as we go along. So he has Kansas minus 18.5, and then he's got the Buffs at minus 3.5. So interesting here.
There we go. We'll see, man.
Let's see. So let's see who gets this next matchup in the Midwest bracket. We have. Oh, goodness gracious. We got a 5 Auburn against a 12 Yale. Oh man, that's gonna be a fun matchup. That's gonna be a close matchup there.
Yeah, man. Yale, the Ivy Leaguers that pretty much said we are going to protect our automatic bid and not have a conference tournament. But no, shout out to the Ivy League, man. They were the first ones kind of pushing the envelope on canceling sports, and they'll take on the Auburn Tigers. Bruce Pearl has those boys playing hard. Their record is 25-6, but of course the criticism comes with they've won a lot of close games. They have had an easier schedule than most. The SEC definitely having a down year. So, 25-6 record, seems low for a 5 seed, but trust me, that's as good as they'll get here.
expect Yale to be the most popular underdog pick of the tournament. 12-5. We already know that the 12-5 bias in any Ivy League school plus 7.5 is always in the first round is always a popular bet. I think that's what we can expect here.
Yeah.
And
so
they'll play the winner of the 4-13. Anything else there, Moose?
I was going to say, yeah. So I see a couple people here in the chat. Bismo saying that we got the Yale upset. Lucas sets that spread at Auburn 12.5.
Immediately push down.
Yeah, that's an insane spread, man.
Yeah,
Come on.
I got the down bet scene play.
I don't think Auburn's beat anyone by double-digit points this year.
Yeah,
no, but all jokes aside, I think they on Ken Pom he factors in luck, and they were the luckiest team in the NCAA, if I'm not mistaken, just winning so many games by one possession or overtime.
Wow.
So yeah, that might be what pushes people to the Yale side, but then again, Auburn. They're 25-6 for a reason.
Yeah, and so guys, if you're here, share this with the people so we can get more people in here. Let's make this chat lit AF. So I want to see comments on every game. Converse with one another. It's going to be awesome. We're going to be here for probably another 30 minutes or so as we break down these games. So, as you mentioned, Lead, the next matchup, we got Wisconsin against North Texas. I don't know much about North Texas. You want to break that one down for me?
Yeah, man, the Mean Green. They are the automatic bid winner of the Conference USA. They've had a decent year, probably one of the better automatic bids from these mid-major conferences. They'll take on Wisconsin, who's been on an absolute heater the last month and a half, probably the hottest team in college hoops here. Winning maybe 10 out of their last 11 in the Big Ten, which is unheard of, and ultimately getting a tie for the Big Ten conference title. So a month and a half ago, they were in that like 8, 9, 10 region with kind of the bottom of the Big Ten at larges, and now they've separated themselves as a 4 seed. So there you go.
People in the chat are not buying it. North Texas plus 11.5 is the popular play so far.
Oof. We'll see. I mean, Wisconsin, they've been tested year in, year out, unlike but North Texas, they're 13 seed for a reason. They're not a 14, they're not a 15, they're not a 16. Usually that means you're to be taken a bit serious here.
Yeah, definitely. So if we go to the second half of the bracket, let's take a look at who's up next. The next matchup, we got West Virginia and East Tennessee State.
Oof. That's a game for the people, man. I'm telling you. West Virginia, we know what they do. They're playing lockdown defense, but they have been stinky as of late. This is a team that at one point, was right in the conversation for a 2 seed, but they have fell hard. They will face the mid-major darling, the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State. This is a team that even if they didn't get the automatic bid, may have been competing for an at-large. They are ranked 36th in the net. The analytics are favorable for them. Ken Pom loves them. They're 27-4 overall.
Wow.
And I mean they have a solid resume to show for it. So we'll see if the Buccaneers can. It's the and the matchup just sounds right, doesn't it? Like the Buccaneers versus the Mountaineers.
And this is the Buccaneers squad that took Kansas nearly down to the wire in November, as they were within 5 points with 6 minutes left to play against the number 1 overall seed Kansas. So let's see if East Tennessee State can make it to the Elite Eight in a rematch with Kansas from earlier in the year.
Definitely looks to be a popular 11-6 pick. Already
I will say, give me West Virginia. I believe they're still the only state that hasn't contracted the coronavirus, so they're going all the way.
There you go.
All right, so the next matchup we got going on. Okay, we got number 3 seed Michigan State facing off against the UC Irvine.
Oof. Yeah. There you have it. The Spartans, who have been as inconsistent as you could ask from a blue blood, have come on hot as of late. There's no doubt Tom Izzo is the guy you want coaching your team in March, and Cassius Winston. You got the senior point guard leadership. This is surely to be a popular team, right, Brian?
Yeah, give me Michigan State all day here. The Anteaters have no shot in this matchup. Michigan State, Izzo lives in March, as much as I hate to say it.
Yeah, and the Anteaters will represent the Big West Conference as the automatic bid. There is a player who actually has a very similar name to one of my boys, Iyasu. His name is Iyasu Worku, and he gives buckets. So we'll see. The Anteaters, the Anteaters have a good reputation in March. They got that team brand name. They've been in the tournament before, but that 3-14 line is usually risky when it comes to picking upsets.
Yeah, but so you got Bismo in here says the Anteaters easily. Ooh.
They love that.
Cora,
Folks love that name, man.
Cora saying Sparty gets upset first round alert. Oh, man.
Yeah. See what the simulation says. And let's wrap up the Midwest bracket here. We got the 7 and 10 matchup.
We got Houston facing off against a really good Texas Tech team. I thought they would be a little bit higher, Waleed, but I guess 10 seeds. What's up with that, man?
They've struggled, man. They have struggled. Look, last year they were a absolute darling going to the Final Four. They won your boy a bracket, so I'm not the guy to hate on the Rebels. But you got to call it like it is, man. So First and foremost, they have very favorable like analytic metrics, KenPom, net, whatever you want to look at. That bodes well, but they're 18 and 13 in the Big 12, man. They've had they've lost 4 straight games, although 2 of them were to Baylor and Kansas. They've just struggled. They've lost 13 games. Outside of a win earlier in the year against Louisville, you look at their resume. I mean, they beat West Virginia at home, but not really much to kind of flex on this resume. So they're about a loss or 2 away from not making this thing entirely.
Wow, and so
Lucas, a Texas insider, gives Texas Tech a 1.5 point spread here. Says Houston is overrated. He knows he is from Texas, so.
Hey, and that might be a fair statement though. Now KenPom loves Houston. He has them as their 14th strongest team, but they were in the AAC, one of the weirdest conferences this year. We're going to keep an eye on who else makes it from this conference, but it's just hard to tell how good these teams are. They're the leader of the pack there, but a little Texas showdown, right? You got the East Side versus the West Side. You got Houston versus Lubbock. So, the TV ratings for this game should be pretty high. And I'm not going to act like that didn't play into maybe some of the selection committee's decision making here.
The tweet impressions will be through the roof for the simulation.
Yep. Let's see. As Bismo points out, he says there will be people who like college hoops, and then there are people like Waleed.
Hey man, I'm glad that I can. I'm glad I have you guys to channel this weird fixation with.
Nah, man, you're good. You're good.
Who's the 2 seed? We gotta know who's the 2 seed in this region.
All right, let's see. 2 seed Creighton facing off Eastern Washington.
Who would have thought earlier in the year? You got this Big East Conference. The Blue Jays would be the ones standing on top, and they are a dangerous offense. They can shoot the ball. They're just savvy. They have guard play that really lets them compete with any team in the nation. They'll take on Eastern Washington, the automatic qualifier of it's bad when you forgot the conference.
The Big Sky. They are Big Sky representatives.
Yeah, I wanted Northern Colorado to win that, but hey, kudos to East Washington. You had a better regular season record. We don't know what would have happened, but you get the automatic bid here.
Eastern Washington, 124th in KenPom's rankings. It was like a big mismatch here in the 215.
Yeah, and so the spread there opens up 12.5. Question.
I don't know. It might have to be worse than that, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not the money line. I'm not the spread guy.
Yeah. We got a question from Stu Baby for you, Wally. He says, is Ziggy healthy for Creighton?
It's a good question, man. Right now, we don't know the health of literally anybody. But I mean, we're gonna assume he is for the purposes of the simulation.
These are full health simulations.
Full health simulations. And for what it's worth, I mean, he's been balling, right? He played against Seton Hall March 7th. So the conference tournament's a different game, but he's all systems go, man. Marcus Zagorowski is all systems go.
Nice. So that puts together the Midwest bracket.
Hey, Q in the building. What's good, Q?
All right. Yep. So let's see here. Let's go back. Let's see. Let's go back to the next bracket, which is the East bracket. So the number one
East regional bracket.
Yep.
No.
All right. The Dayton Flyers facing off against Boston U. Oof. That's got to be one of the highest spreads of the tournament, right?
Oh yeah, man. The Dayton Flyers, man. Kudos to them securing a 1 seed led by Obi Toppin. I mean, they're an offensive juggernaut. If you have watched their highlights, if you want to see how to run an offense, but yeah, they're gonna be massive favorites against Boston University.
Yeah, Obi Thomas, Player of the Year candidate, #1 overall seed for the A10 winner, Dayton. Really impressive season for the Flyers, and we'll see. A lot of times in years past, we've seen unfamiliar teams as the 1 seed underperform. Wichita State comes to mind, but this Dayton Flyers team is a bit different.
Moving on to the 8-9 matchup.
Let's see. We have Providence facing off against the Florida Gators.
Florida screams overrated 9 team to me, but I have no idea.
Yeah, and the Providence, speaking of Big East darlings, they have won 6 in a row and have gone from bubble team to comfortably in the tournament. Not many hotter teams out there, and yeah, you kind of have a showdown between the Big East and the SEC. We'll see who comes out on top.
Yeah. All right, cool beans. And I just found out that I was been looking for the last 20 minutes on a Gus Johnson soundboard that there used to be, but then CBS sent a cease and desist letter.
No.
So that is no longer a thing anymore. RIP. So
damn.
Let's move on to this next bracket, or this next matchup. We got the Ohio State facing off against a 12 seed of Liberty.
The Flames of Liberty and the Buckeyes of OSU. OSU was, if I'm not mistaken, a #1 seed at one point this year in the AP polls. They hit a mid-season slump, but the underlying numbers have been good to them. It's a good team through and through, and I think they might be a popular, lower of the half, like top seed to maybe make a run in some people's bracket.
One underrated aspect here: Liberty refuses to close classes or practice.
Oh my God!
So they may have an advantage here, getting some extra practice reps in over Ohio State.
That's true. That's a good point. They're gearing up. They're ready. Simulation or real thing. They feel like at any point, once the good news comes. So, yeah, man, Liberty. We're not going to say much more about that school, but they'll face the Buckeyes. Moving on to the 4-13 matchup.
All right, so the 4-13 in the East region is Kentucky facing off a very sneaky school of Vermont. That's going to be an interesting matchup. What do you think, Lead?
Oof, the Catamounts of Vermont and the Blue Bloods, the Kentucky Wildcats, who, if they didn't lose to Tennessee a week before like the conference tournament started, they may have been fooling people into even that 2-3 region. Me, I don't get fooled.
Can't fool the committee, bro. Cannot fool the committee.
Can't fool the committee. This is a team sort of like Auburn, where their record has boosted them in a pretty weak SEC. They're Ken Palm 29 right now. Okay. 25-6, but look, they've won games that look good on the resume, including first game of the season on a neutral court against Michigan State. They beat Louisville at home. But at the end of the day, that Evansville loss stings. They lost to Utah. and a home loss to Tennessee. You just have seen some red flags from this team. And then the Catamounts of Vermont, they're going to be a darling, right? When you get those 13 seeds that are automatic qualifiers, they can make, they can pull off an upset. So this should be an interesting game to watch. What do you guys think?
Yeah, Lee, I know Kentucky was your number one overrated team. So to see them get a 4 seed, I know you wish that this was a real bracket so you could fade them, but you can still fade them. You can still fade them in your simulation bracket.
Totally. I mean, if they get past Vermont, I think they're going to get their ass kicked by OSU.
And I hope no one just saw that and clipped that. My girlfriend just snuck into the building and scared the shit out of me.
Oh, no, I missed it.
Jesus.
I was so focused on the East Regional.
Real quick, lead question for you from Lucas says, why does Ken Palm hate the SEC so much?
I think Ken Palm is smart. So, but no, good question. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, we're gonna learn more about these teams when they play outside of their bracket. But it's just when you look at the top of this, when you look at the top 3-4 teams of this conference, not intimidating, man, not intimidating at all. Kentucky, Auburn, these are teams that middle of the pack in my eyes, and like the Big Ten, the Big East. So we'll see how that checks out. They both have 25-6 records, and I know like if someone's filling out a bracket and they see Kentucky 25-6, they might want to push them far. But hey, guess what? The simulation will tell us. Maybe Kentucky is the team to get the ride to the Final Four.
We'll learn a lot about these teams outside of conference play in the simulation.
Yes, absolutely. And as Bismo points out, my significant other did scare the fuck out of me. So looks like he saw it. All right, next up, the next part of the East bracket, we have a Commonwealth. We have Virginia versus Richmond matchup.
Ooh, you like that matchup, Brian? You like how I said that? And
Lead is well, you're getting lots of hate tweets after this. There's some state stacking here. You're stacking these teams
TV
together.
Ratings, baby. I'm getting these TV ratings up now. Keep in mind, I still follow the committee's rules. Like if they had played each other earlier in the season, I would not have been allowed to make first round matchup. But since they didn't, I thought, you know what? Let the Commonwealth duke it out. Virginia, they've turned a corner. As of late, they've had a lot of big wins down the stretch in the ACC, and even though their offense is, the defense, they still swarm. They're still doing what Bennett wants them to do, and they'll face the Richmond Spiders, who have made the tournament as an at-large in the Atlantic 10 fairly comfortably. They're avoiding the Dayton game where they got to play as the last 4 in, but this is one of those mid-major teams that folks were not sure about. I had them. I thought that they deserved to stay out of the first 4 games in Dayton.
Yeah, not even a sweat for Richmond, avoiding the Dayton games.
Yep, absolutely. So let's take a look at this next matchup. We have number 3 Maryland facing off the 14 seed Bradley. I feel like you might have done Maryland a little too good there.
You think so? I thought 2 would have been too good. 4 would have been then I look at Kentucky and I see the other 4s. I think Maryland's properly seeded, Moose.
Oh no, I was talking about the matchup. I feel like it's too easy of a matchup for them.
Really interesting.
Maryland loses this matchup, by the way, in real life.
They very well might. The winner of the Missouri Valley Conference, the Bradley Braves, who stole a bid. They would have not been in the picture if they didn't win. But they've looked good. In the Maryland Terrapins, man, we never know what's up with them in March and with Turgeon. But potential interesting second-round matchup between UVA and Maryland. Little ACC rivalry there. You see, I'm thinking ahead, man.
Love it. The total in that game will be about 75 points. And the sharp wager of the tournament is Bradley, first half spread.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
So Lucas puts that game at Maryland -10, and he's going with money line upset.
Oh my God.
And Bismo says Bradley is almost as easy as a pick, as is maybe controversial, as Biden saying malarkey at $1 on FanDuel for the debate tonight. So, all right, let's move on to this next matchup. We have 7th seed Arizona facing off number 10 Indiana.
Mm. Mm-mm. So that is a matchup of two, I guess, blue blood programs, right? Would you call them that?
Yeah, that's fair.
Sean Miller and his Arizona Wildcats, the definition of stacked on paper. I mean, they're going to have multiple NBA players on this roster, but they just haven't been able to put it together. Very young, inconsistent team. I mean, the sum of the parts are not better than the parts right now. They've lost 4 of their last 5. At one point, one of these teams, once again, 3-4 seed earlier, like a month ago, and now they fell. And the Indiana Hoosiers, they get in as a 10 seed. I know Archie Miller has something to say about bracketologists. What did he say about him? What did he say about my boy Lenardi?
Oh God, what did he say? I don't know, but I'm sure he'll love a matchup with his brother here.
Perfect. There you go. So, look at this, man. I am just creating the perfect bracket as we go along.
Yeah, dude, this is definitely going on your resume, and the selection committee is going to have your number on speed dial for next year.
Because look, I'm telling you, I'm bringing the headlines without compromising the integrity of the rule. So, this is a good matchup here, right? Pac-12, Big Ten, one of these big blood conference showdowns. We'll see what happens.
So, Stu Baby says he says something along the lines Lenardi belongs on Sesame Street or something like that.
Perfect. This is Sesame Street part 2 then.
All right, this 2 seed for the East bracket, Villanova, facing off a real scrappy Arkansas Little Rock.
Oof, yeah, the Little Rock. I don't know I forgot what they are. I know they're at the Sun Belt Conference. Arkansas, Little Rock, let's
the
figure
Trojans
this out. The Trojans, there you have it. They'll face a very popular Villanova Wildcats team that is dangerous on offense and I think could be a pretty popular pick coming out of the East region.
Yeah, Maryland got host here once again in a bracket with Villanova, last year's champion Virginia. The incredible Dayton Flyers, just an incredible, unjust seeding. Yeah, incredible. Wally, I can't believe you did it.
I had to. I mean, it wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be realistic if it wasn't played out this way. I know the Terp forums out there are probably going crazy talking about how at this draw I'd rather had a 5 seed if this is what they're going to give us.
Yeah, Terp's Twitter's going nuts over this.
It's insane. So that's half the bracket done. Let's move to the other half and round this thing up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we move to the West bracket, the 1 seed in the West bracket, we have Gonzaga facing off against one of the playing games, Prairie View A&M against Siena.
The Saints of Siena versus Prairie View A&M. You can catch that game live on Twitter from Dayton, Ohio. We'll tweet the results before the inevitable beating at the hands of the Bulldogs of Gonzaga. They came in as they had the number 1 net rank. And obviously a team that their reputation precedes themselves. Is this going to be the year they finally win it all? Mark Few?
31-2 Mark Few's squad. They get a couple home games out west here. We'll see if they can do it. It's a wide open field, one of the more wide open fields we've seen. So Gonzaga just as good of a chance as some of these other 1 seeds.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm curious to see after we do the reveal, we'll have some odds on to win the entire thing. So I'm curious to see where they rank there. I think they'll probably be like maybe 5th or 6th to win it all.
Well, yeah, we might have to do some bracketology tonight. But I need something where I click it and it puts the winner in.
Yeah,
I need better technology here, man.
Can't be using Paint anymore, bro.
Yeah.
So all right, so the winner of that game will face off against USC, 8 seed against 9 seed LSU.
Oof. You like that matchup there, Brian? That's a football matchup. That's a mid-2000s football matchup.
The themes of this bracket, they're just trickling down through every region. It's incredible.
I mean, you got what should have been, I think, the 2004 national champion in the year when they crowned 2 champions. The BCS had their championship game, and then the number 1 overall what year was that? 03, 02, one of those years. This was a thing between these two schools. But yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, they're basketball schools at the moment. USC, LSU. We'll find out. It's another one of these Big 12, Pac 12. I'm sorry, SEC, Pac 12 showdowns.
Cool beans. And let's see. So let's move on to the next one. We have Butler facing off against the 12 seed of Utah State.
Oof.
Butler in normally the mid-major, who's getting the underdog here. Butler's a 5 seed. Lead typically, as we see, of course, with an underdog. Is Utah State considered a mid-major?
They are out of the Mountain West, I think. I mean, they obviously play in the same conferences as San Diego State. But it is, I'd say it's a mid-major. Well, it's not a mid-major showdown because Butler's in the Big East. But
yeah, but here's typical committee bias. Once again, they won't give Utah State the chance to upset a real blue blood. They wouldn't match them up with Kentucky, who's vulnerable. Committee hides them once again from a dangerous 12 seed. We see this every year.
Totally. You know, they're just going for Butler. I mean, they're treating him like a mid-major. They are not getting any respect for being in the Big East. And shout out to Utah State, man. They actually won they would not, have been an automatic bid if the conference tournament got canceled like 3 days before, but they were able to play it out, beat San Diego State on a clutch shot. And I mean, this is a team that would have competed for an at-large spot, but now they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Thanks to the simulated conference tourney.
And so we got a hot take in the chat.
Real thing. They won the real thing.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
They earned it.
So we got a hot take in the chat from Stu Baby. It says Baldwin is good enough to take Butler to a Final Four this year.
I mean, hey, you look at it and everything is doable, man. Butler is not a bad team at all. They can compete with the best of them in the Big East. So why can't they take down a Gonzaga?
Yeah. Why not, right?
4-13, what we got?
Let's see. Oregon facing off Akron.
Oof.
I know nothing about Akron.
The Zips of Akron, they will represent the MAC conference. Look, Akron is a team that I don't know much about either. I've been casually following the MAC to see if there's any team worth it, but they are, I mean, top, I think, 85 team on KenPom, 24-7. They have no real wins that make you feel strong about this team, but they did have 2 matchups earlier in the year, one against West Virginia on the road. They lost by 10 points, 94-84. So, I mean, they were able to put up 84 points against a West Virginia team. Wow. And then they lost to Louisville on the road, 82-76 earlier in the year. So, take that for what it's worth. Might be enough to make them interesting, and probably the reason why they were a 13 seed and not 15 or 14.
Yep. So Ducks are -8 in that matchup. And as we move on to the
Peyton Pritchard, he'll have a chance to do it in March, man. The winners of the Pac-12, 24-7 overall record, consistent throughout the year. They did lose to Gonzaga earlier in the year in overtime. So maybe we get a little rematch there for top half of the Western Regional.
Yep. And so as we move on to the second half of the West, we got Iowa 6 seed facing off the other playing game, Wichita State against Texas.
Woof. So
interesting.
There you go. That's the first 2 teams of our last 4 in: Wichita State Shockers and the Texas Longhorns, who shout out to Q, shout out to Austin. It got ugly. They lost a game that they shouldn't have lost at the very last Saturday of the season to Oklahoma State, and that almost cost them. I mean, they got drummed at home, but ultimately the committee thought they did just enough in the last month and a half, and just volume of work to sneak in the tournament as one of the last 4 in. The winner of that game will face the Iowa Hawkeyes, strong Big Ten team, Luka Garza, leading Player of the Year candidate, and you got one of the better offenses when they're in sync. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. But definitely excited for that first 4 matchup between Wichita State and Texas.
Do we have any more teams on the bubble right now that are waiting to see if they're getting in?
We do. We have 2 more bubble teams, maybe even 3. You can make the case. So folks are certainly on edge right now.
Yeah. So if people in the chat here, if there's any bubble teams you think that are still on the bubble, put them in chat. We'll see if we if they make it in. So as we look back to our next matchup here, we got Seton Hall facing off a 14 seed of Hofstra. Interesting matchup there.
Yeah, the Pirates of Seton Hall. I mean, this was a team that I think is going to be favored to go on a run. They're a Garland type team, good on both sides of the ball. Between, Miles Powell, Quincy McKnight, you got my Georgian boy, Sandro Mukashvili. This is a fun team. They did lose their last 2 games to wrap up the season, but they're going to be a hot pick, I think, coming out of the Big East. They didn't get the automatic bid, but I mean, you look at the Big East right now, really making a presence on the top of the field with multiple 2 seeds, a 3 seed here.
Yeah, really impressive showing by the Big East. And Hofstra, 14 seed, won the Colonial Athletic Conference, and they actually beat UCLA earlier this year, 88-78. So
they did.
They have some experience.
For sure, and that was a loss that folks were using to hurt UCLA's resume. They're one of these teams. We'll see if it ends up kind of costing them a bid. But, yeah, they did it the automatic way, so good for Hofstra.
Absolutely. And so let's take a look at this next matchup. We have the 7 seed Penn State facing off the 10 seed Arizona State.
Oof, the battle of the states. I keep on saying oof.
That's fine. But I'm getting word here that we actually have a live look at the Arizona State celebration. Can we go to them real quick?
Yeah, let's see.
Let's see Arizona State making it in the tournament as a 10 seed. Let's get a live look.
Let's see. Wow. That's awesome.
Bobby Hartley, and they're excited. They made the tournament. Look at that excitement for these seniors on this team.
And clearly a team that doesn't follow bracketology too much, because if they did, they would have felt pretty comfortable going into it. And damn it, no fucking isolation, just everyone dapping each other up.
Just giving hugs, crying.
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right, that guy looks a little skeptical right there, but all right, get the hand sanitizer going, fellas. See.
Immediately touches his eyes. All right, Arizona State is canceled. Okay.
All right, let's.
They'll put out of Sacramento. And I know some Penn State alum are pretty pissed off about that. How are we the higher seed, but we got to travel to Sacramento? We'll see.
That's bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take a look back. That was pretty cool. So let's see the next matchup and
close out the West bracket, the 2-15 matchup.
We got San Diego State playing against North Dakota State.
Oof.
Bison. The Bison,
a team that people like. San Diego State, we know all about them. They were undefeated until they weren't. And then, I mean, 2 losses on their resume, but I think still as dangerous of a team. Thing that stands out to me here is, I guess no surprise, that we got Gonzaga and San Diego State in the same region, potential showdown in LA for a trip to the Final Four.
Yeah, this is a very interesting bracket. San Diego State, as a 2 seed, kind of expected, but it looks like an easy path for me, at least, for them to get to the Elite 8.
Yeah, let's see it. So moving forward with the last part of the bracket, and
teams are on the edge of their seats, seeing that they get to the tournament.
The South is about to go crazy here.
All right, so let's take a look at the number 1 seed for the South. We have Baylor facing against Winthrop.
The Winthrop. Is it the Screaming Eagles or the Eagles?
Isn't it the Golden Eagles, right?
The Golden Eagles. It's the Eagles. It's the Eagles.
Okay.
Winners of the Big South Conference tournament, and they will take on the Baylor Bears, who, I mean, have been one of the more awesome stories in college hoops this year. At one point, I feel like they won 20 games in a row, or
Yep.
22 games in a row.
Wow.
They've lost 3 of their last 5, but 2 to very worthy opponents. And I mean, Scott Drew has had these guys really playing up to their potential, the true definition of team ball. We'll see. I think they're going to be a very polarizing pick. Some folks are going to ride them far. Others might have them second or third round.
Yep, absolutely. And so real quick, guys, as we round out this last bracket, make sure guys, you share this with everyone that you know. That you can fill out the bracket. The more people that enter, the better the prizes are going to be. I know we were talking about that last night, so definitely share that among everyone that you know. And as we move on to this next matchup, we have, this is gonna be a tough one. St. Mary's facing off against Marquette.
This is a St. Mary's team, by the way, that lost earlier in the year to 16 seed Winthrop. So we'll see if we can get an upset in round 1 to get a rematch in the round of 32.
There you go. That could be an interesting rematch. Don't hold your breath. But yeah, St. Mary's is a team that has that kind of mid-major bubble like appeal, and they will take on Marquette, who and Marcus Howard balling his ass off. They've been just falling though. I mean, they almost got themselves back on the bubble. This is a team that should have been comfortably in, was looking like probably a 6 seed, and they have lost 6 of their last 7, including games to DePaul, St. John's. So it's, we'll see if they can stop the bleeding. They're going to need to figure it out real soon.
But this is a game you want to turn into for the simulation. Marcus Howard, one of the most prolific scorers in the entire country at any level of basketball. 30 points each of his last 4 games, averaged nearly 28 points per game in a college.
We might have to throw out an over/under on his individual prop bet.
We'll get that out there.
And that game will be tip-off at 9:57 in Omaha on Friday, March 20th.
So be on the lookout.
Yep, absolutely. So as we move on to the next matchup, we have BYU. I know that was one of your teams, Waleed, against Stephen F. Austin.
Yeah, BYU.
Once again, a mid-major 12 seed, not going up against a potential blue blood. Just incredible bias from the committee once again.
The committee tends to do this sort of thing. At this point, we can't get surprised. We leave it to these schools to beat up on each other. Stephen F. Austin, they had an impressive win against Duke earlier in the year, but ultimately they did win the automatic bid. Would have been a team that probably would have been on the outside looking in if they didn't. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a matchup that I'm interested in, and 2 teams, regardless of who wins, I'm curious to kind of follow their journey.
Fun fact: Stephen F. Austin was my biggest sports bet of my entire life during their first round matchup against VCU a few years ago. So they will always have a soft spot in my heart.
That was when they hit that 4-point play to make it an overtime, right?
It was an incredible day.
How could he foul? I still can't believe how he fouled him.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right, so as we move on to the 4-13 matchup, we got Louisville facing off against the New Mexico State.
It's the Aggies, right?
Yeah, Aggies, right?
The Aggies, not the Lobos. There's the Aggies and there's the Lobos. This one's the Aggies. They'll face the Louisville Cardinals, who early on in the year, I think they were also one of these teams that were ranked number 1. They hit a skid, losing 2 ugly games back-to-back to Georgetown and Clemson. They've lost 4 of their last 7, but at the end of the day, it's a good team, right? It's a good team. It's a team that could easily see themselves in the Elite 8, and I'm excited to kind of see how this unfolds and how popular they are in people's brackets.
Yeah, 2 points. They're kind of underseeded from a traditional metric standpoint. As they are number 9 in Ken Palm's rankings. And then Big Hugs 22 in the chat says BYU can't be in the South. They don't play on Sundays. Well, if they lose in the first round, they won't play on Sunday anyway. So. And
for what it's worth, they play on Thursday in this region. So just to let you know, this game is taking place.
Don't test the
March 19th, Thursday, Saturday. We definitely understand and respect, and we might, if you're talking about the next, the Sweet 16 Elite 8, we might have to make some changes because we definitely respect that, and we should have. I didn't have a function for that in Microsoft Excel, but I know the committee, believe it or not, actually has in their program a function that prevents that from happening because. A couple of years ago, this did happen. BYU was put in a region where they had to play on Sunday, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they ended up losing and not playing, but I think they were planning to play. So I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that. But That did happen before. Appreciate you pointing that out. Attention to detail is definitely something we at the Occupy Selection Committee value.
Attention to detail is going to be a key in filling out your simulated bracket.
Yep. So let's move on to the last half of the bracket. I know there's a couple teams that are really sweating right now. Let's see if they make it in. We have.
And shout out to my boy Kramer. He just texted me saying, this is awesome, and that Penn State got a tough draw. But we'll have to check them on those Nittany Lions. They've been falling as of late, but they could get it together, especially if they're healthy.
And 6th seed Michigan will face off the playing game. We just talked about them being on the bubble. UCLA gets in. They'll be playing in Dayton against Cincinnati in the 6-11 matchup.
The 2 of the last 4 in the UCLA Bruins. They'll take on Cincinnati in 2 fan bases just taking a deep breath of relief as they go dancing. UCLA, really one of the more fascinating stories of the season. I mean, they were dead in the water, literally dead in the water. A team that, Mick Cronin, I thought, he might quit after this year.
They made it in, though. They made it in.
Yeah, and, do you like that little narrative match here? I mean, you got Mick Cronin going against Cincinnati.
I mean, while you may not have a function in Excel for BYU's on Sundays, but you got a damn good narrative function. So really love it.
And I kid you not, that was on accident. That was totally coincidence. So
wow.
Let's go. Sometimes it's like a puzzle. Like if you get 90% of the puzzle right, the last 10% just comes together, right? So yeah.
Spoken like a true philosopher you are.
So they'll take the Michigan Wolverines. That could be an interesting second round matchup. A little Michigan UCLA. Overly proud alum.
People love taking these 11 seeds in the playing games and moving them to the round of 32 or even the Sweet 16. So this could be the popular one.
For sure. So moving on to the 3-14.
We got Duke playing off against 14 seed of Belmont. Oof.
Interesting. Now the committee has actually took a stance here and put the Bruins of Belmont against a vulnerable Duke team.
You like to see it. Now Belmont is a team that did win the automatic bid for their league as the 14 seed. They'll take on Duke. Let's face it, they could have lost 2 more games. They still would have been a 3 seed in this committee's eye. But I'm just looking down the line, seeing some potentially interesting matchups, man. Maybe a Duke-Michigan showdown round 2. But we'll see if Belmont has anything to say about it.
I mean, Belmont, 8 NCAA. This is their 9th NCAA appearance in the last 15 years. It's an incredible run from that squad, Casey Alexander's team.
And let's not forget, these 2 teams played in the first round in March 2008. And Duke was a 2 seed. Belmont's a 15 seed. Belmont almost pulled it out. They lost 71-70.
Mm-hmm.
This was on March 20th, legit 12 years ago. And guess when the rematch is?
March 20th.
March 20th.
Narrative Street, man.
Put it down on your calendar. 12:40 p.m. tip off. Where's Duke playing? In Greensboro. You know how the committee has to do it.
Yeah.
We want to just limit travel. Let's close this thing out with the last 4 teams.
Real quick, I'm just hearing we got a video of Belmont celebrating. Can we go to Belmont?
Yeah.
Let's go to Belmont.
Let's go to Belmont real quick. Let's see how they're looking. Let's see. Where are they? Here they go. So no sound, but they seem really happy to go off against the Duke squad.
Yeah, again, Belmont. They're used to the tournament, but again, they're okay with spreading the virus and touching everyone within their vicinity to get a chance to play Duke. They're excited to play. I think that's the excitement here. They're playing Duke. They want a chance to show off.
It's pretty interesting because they won their conference tournament. Usually, teams that are expecting to get in maybe aren't as excited. Because they know they're getting in. It's not like they're a bubble team.
Right.
But I think it's that Duke matchup and just the ability to touch your teammates a little more.
All right,
let's round it out for us.
All right, let's round it out. So we got Illinois I know that'll be a very popular pick, facing off against the 10 seed of Oklahoma.
Yeah,
The Sooners.
Lucas, our niche sports writer, big Illinois fan. I know he'll have a state in Illinois' favor here.
And for the Oklahoma Sooner fans who are probably sweating it out like Texas was in before us, they were fairly comfortably in the field. A couple of good wins on that resume. 19-12 in the Big 12. But they're a team that could shake things up, man. Ranked 36 in KenPom. This should be a good 7-10 matchup.
Definitely.
Really, really exciting.
Yep. And as we round it out, we have the 2 seed of Florida State facing off against the 15 seed of Northern Kentucky.
And Florida State, winners of the ACC tournament, as I think they won the game at halftime, and like they had that awkward like celebration. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Like, let's spread it to like 10 more people before we wrap it up. But yeah, I mean the Seminoles a really, really impressive year, regular season and conference tournament champions of the Atlantic Coast Conference. They'll take on the Norse of Northern Kentucky. That game is going to be brought to you live at what time is the game, Moose? Do you know? We're going to have to tweet out these schedules later for the fans, but that's going to be a hell of a game, man.
Let's
at
see.
Northern Kentucky
March
out of the
19th.
Horizon League.
That game will be in Tampa Bay.
Yep.
Thursday, March 19th at 9:20 p.m.
Okay, nice.
Awesome. So that's the field. Moose, let's wrap it up and talk about the last 4 in and the first 4 out, according to the committee.
Yeah, so as we look here, we have on screen the entire bracket. You may have to full screen the video to fully see it. We'll also tweet this out, but let's take a look. I know you said the last 4 in. Let's see if we can find that information out here. Last 4 first.
Yeah, so
Go ahead.
UCLA, Cincinnati, Wichita State, and Texas are the last 4 in. They'll be playing in Dayton.
Mm-hmm.
So
and then
what
were the teams that were Wally? What were the teams that were really close to making it but just didn't have that extra spark? I guess they were the first 4 out.
Yeah. So according to the committee, they released these results. The first 4 out of this dance, the NC State Wolfpack. Just didn't get enough done. The Stanford Cardinal, who despite having impressive analytics, just the resume didn't here. You can't just, this isn't, like we did all right with Pac-12. You got to earn it if you're in the Pac-12. We weren't just giving these away. The Xavier Musketeers, and then it breaks my heart, but Northern Iowa, the Panthers of Northern Iowa, who one of the better teams not to make it, unfortunately, when you come out of a 1-bid league like the Missouri
they got upset, right? They got upset in the conference tournament.
Way too early. They got punished by the Drake Bulldogs. If they would have lost in the championship, you could see, the committee giving them there, but ultimately just the disappointment across all, these 4 teams are going to be sitting there probably blaming the committee, but I mean, look at their resumes, look at their schedules. There are plenty of opportunities. This isn't college football, right? Where you go 12-2 and you feel like, oh, you got skimped. Like, no, you played 30 plus games this season. You didn't make the case. And you know what? Guess what? You can always participate in the NIT simulation. They'll be the top 4 seeds of that bracket.
Spoken like a long-term committee member. Wow.
Awesome. So that wraps up the bracket. As we kind of go forward, should we kind of talk a little about what our participants should expect?
Yes, so we will have this video up on YouTube too, so everyone can have access to this. We will post an image of the bracket itself. That way you'll have access to that. And once the bracket is posted, we'll provide a link where you can fill out your bracket. It'll be some sort of it won't be a fillable bracket. It'll be some other tool to fill it out because we can't actually do that. But you'll be able to fill out your bracket. You have until the first game Thursday. So 12:10 Eastern on Thursday to submit your bracket. And then once that's done, we will be live tweeting as the games go off what the results will be of our simulations. and we'll have some content built around that as well.
Awesome. And yeah, share this bracket with anyone that you know, anyone that just wants to kind of get involved. Obviously,
it's free to enter. It's free to enter.
It's 100% free to enter. We want to just kind of salvage March Madness, filling out brackets, tracking these game results. We're going to try and keep you guys on edge, tweeting these results as the days go on. Tip off, that's when we'll tweet the results. And the more people involved can really like put into these prizes.
Yep.
Yeah, and I know we were talking about earlier, like you said, the more people that join, the better prizes. I know we were even talking about maybe giving out some sort of tablet for people who are going to be staying at home for the months ahead, whatever. So, spread the word as much as you can. It only helps yourself. So that being said, Brian, Wiley, do we have any last lingering thoughts before I take us out of here?
That's it for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the committee did an absolutely impeccable job of just putting this field together, seating him accordingly. I feel like everyone was properly seated. And then on top of that, to really care for the audience and fans, and where they could, they created matchups that are sure to lure in people from all, parts of the world. So I'm just thrilled. This is probably the greatest bracket in the history of March Madness. And let's see what the computers say. Let's see how this unfolds. Absolutely.
So, Waleed, Brian, I really thank you all for taking your time out to do this. Waleed, give your thanks to the committee for me. And again, keep updated on Twitter at Occupy Fantasy. If you have any questions, reach out to us on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, however you want to. With that being said, I'm Moose from OccupyFantasy.com. Thank you all for joining us, and have a good rest of your night.